The duties and privileges of the Crown in Britain. Introduction. The constitutional history of England begins with an absolute monarchy. The king was an absolute sovereign. He was the source of all legal power, but with the passage of time, the powers of the king decreased. Prerogatives are those legal powers that are left with the crown or that were not taken away from the crown during the decline in his powers. In the past, prerogative powers were originally exercised by the monarch acting alone and did not require parliamentary consent. They are now always exercised on the advice of the Prime Minister or the Cabinet. There may be situations in which the monarch could choose to exercise the royal prerogative without the advice of the Prime Minister and Cabinet. Such situations are extremely rare and could only occur in emergencies. Difference between the king and the crown. Following are the differences between the king and the crown. A. There can be the demise of the king but not of the crown. B. The crown is an institution, whereas the king is an individual who holds the institution. C. The king is part of the crown, but the crown is not part of the king. Definition. Following are some important definitions of the prerogative of the crown. A. According to Dicey, a prerogative of the crown signifies those powers that have not been taken away from the monarch during the process of decline in his powers. B. According to Coke, the prerogatives are those powers, preeminence, supremacy, and privileges which the law gives to the crown. C. Simple definition. Prerogatives are common law discretionary, optional, powers of the king. Regulation of the crown's prerogative. The king exercises his prerogatives on the advice of the cabinet. The exercise of prerogative rights, whether by the king himself or by the cabinet, is regulated by the conventions of the Constitution. Limitations on prerogatives. The Crown's prerogative is created for the benefit of the people and cannot be exercised to their prejudice. The courts have the authority to ask if any supposed prerogative comes into existence. Present junction. At present, the Crown's prerogatives are very restricted. The Crown can claim any prerogative that is opposed to common law, any act of Parliament, or the liberties of the subjects. Prerogatives of the Crown. There was a time when the king had a very large number of prerogatives, but their number has lessened over time. Some of these prerogatives have been taken away by acts of Parliament, and others have disappeared because they were not exercised for a long time. The prerogatives of the Crown are classified into two categories: personal prerogatives and political prerogatives. A. Personal prerogatives. Following are the personal prerogatives of the Crown. 1. The king can do no wrong. By no proceedings known to the law can the king be made personally responsible for any act done by him. In the second place, it means that any illegal act done by anyone, including public servants, in the name of the Crown cannot be taken as a defense in the case proceedings. 2. The king is never an infant. It means that the king is never an infant. Even when the king is actually an infant, the assent given by him to bills passed by Parliament makes them valid. It is presumed that the king is always fit to transact the business of the state. 3. The king never dies. The king is immortal. As soon as one king dies, he is succeeded by another. B. Political prerogatives. Following are the political prerogatives of the Crown. 1. Administrative prerogatives. Administrative prerogatives are listed below. A. The creation of the press. B. The creation of corporations. C. Appointment and dismissal of ministers and other government officials. D. Declaration of war. E. The Crown is the chief command of the armed forces. 2. Ecclesiastical prerogatives. The following are the ecclesiastical prerogatives of the Crown. A. Power of appointment. The king appoints high ecclesiastical officers by using the power of appointment, for example, the appointment of an archbishop. B. Head of church. The Crown is the head of the church in England. 3. Legislative prerogatives. A. Power to legislate. The king has the power of common law to legislate for conquered and ceded colonies. B. Summoning of Parliament. The king has the power to summon the Parliament. C. Dissolution of Parliament. The king has the power to dissolve the Parliament on the advice of the Prime Minister. D. Assent on bills. The king has the prerogative of giving royal assent to bills passed by both houses of Parliament. E. Appointment of peers. The appointments of peers are made by the Crown. 4. Foreign prerogatives. Following are the foreign prerogatives of the Crown. A. Declaration of war and peace. The king can declare war and peace at any time with other countries of the world. B. Appointment of an ambassador. The king appoints the ambassador of his own country, who represents them abroad. C. Representative of the nation. The king is the sole representative of the nation in international dealings. D. Power to make treaties. It is the prerogative of the king to make treaties.